Hello and welcome back to my FPL channel, FPL D Unit. Here we go. Game week 18 transfer tips. It's a difficult week. Obviously, everyone is talking about the fact that Saka is out at least for the foreseeable future, which means he has to be a definite sell. He was up to almost 45% ownership as of this time of recording this video. He is now down to, I think, 36, 37%. He is likely to drop even more before the deadline. You need to make sure you're not sleeping on this because it's a lot of money to leave on your bench. He is going to be decreasing in team value. And if you bought him at 10.1 like you did, like I did, he is currently at 10.5, which means you can sell him for 10.3. But if you leave it any later, he will drop to 10.4, and then you'll only have a selling price of 10.2. So without further ado, let's get into transfer tips. Make sure you drop us a like and a subscribe if you're new, and let's have a look at what we are talking about for this particular week. So game week and 18 transfer tips. Who are the best replacements for Saka? And Cunha, who still at this point hasn't actually been banned. He has been charged by the FA. We are still expecting that it will likely happen before the Manchester United game. But if it doesn't, you could potentially hold him and roll him because Manchester United have not been playing overly well defensively, as was seen on the weekend when we lost 3-0, unfortunately, to Bournemouth. João Pedro is another player on the chopping block for me. I just don't think he is playing to the level of football that we are expecting. And trust me, I went to the West Ham Brighton game. I watched him live against West Ham, and I didn't think he did a hell of a lot. And I swear he was on there for 90 minutes. I just did not see him doing much. I'm just concerned with the way that he is playing. I'm concerned with the way Brighton are playing, and they're about to come up against harder opposition. Maybe they'll play better against the better teams that want to come onto them more. I'm not 100% sure, but against the weaker teams, they just haven't been up to scratch. And I'm looking to move most of my Brighton assets on, which, yeah, that's just basically what I've done. I got rid of Matoma last week. João Pedro and Verbruggen are both in the firing line this week. One of them likely will move. I'm just not sure which one it will be at this particular moment in time. Man City players could now be good differentials, as could Tottenham players be good differentials. I'm becoming more and more inclined to looking at the next lot of 6 to 10 fixtures. I think potentially you could just take a gamble, even though that both teams are in horrible form and they really give you nothing good to really back it up, punting on them. That's what I'm going to be arguing is probably a good idea to do. I don't know why. Crystal Palace now have really good fixtures. And I think it is all systems go on their players. Yes, they've got Bournemouth away this week, but I think from here on in, yes, they conceded 5 goals against Arsenal, but that was Arsenal. And I just think that Palace had a weird game where they just kept on like sort of going on to them. They had as many chances as Arsenal, as much XG. Just that game shouldn't have been a 5-1, but it was. Trent expensive defenders, I still don't think are worth the asking price. I really did eye up whether to sell, bring in Trent Alexander-Arnold for Colwill in my defense this week now that Saka's out. And I was like, what do I do with the money? And I thought about it and I looked at it and I was like, how can I justify spending an extra 2.5 million on, like, for example, like a Hall up to a Trent when in reality, Liverpool the last 2 weeks have conceded twice to Fulham, 3 times to Tottenham. Like, defenders this season are just so hard to predict with clean sheets. I just don't think that any player over 6 million is really worth it. Like, I've gone without Gabriel all season. I've gone without Van Dijk all season. I've got Timber in from Arsenal, and I'm looking to buy. Ideally, I'd like to buy Canate when he's back for Liverpool, or Alisson Becker. And obviously, I would like to triple up prior to that double game week. I'm just not sure where I want to go, which is why I've still only got Mo Salah from Liverpool, because he's the only one that I'm not worried about getting rotated out or getting injured, whatever. He's just an unbelievable force this season. Yeah, so Tottenham assets, as I said, they are definitely worth a gamble. And which players need moving out? Now, I would argue that Wolves and Brighton assets need to be moved out. Now, Wolves do have the new manager bounce, and you could potentially hold them against Manchester United this week. And look, Manchester United, I'm their fan. I'm a massive fan, but like we just are so unpredictable at the moment as well. It's hard to like bet on us winning. So in reality, I think Wolves assets are perfectly fine this week, which is sad for me to actually admit. But today, this video is purely going to be focused on which issues need to be dealt with and who the best people are to bring in. Because reality, there are quite a few different people that potentially you could be bringing in. So without further ado, let's jump into the top transfers in and top transfers out and what you should be doing for your teams this week. All right, so as we can see here, the top transfers in for this game week is Zach. 522,000 people brought him in on the back of his first ever hat trick for Newcastle United. I love the transfer. I don't think it's a bad move. Then we have a look at the next one. So Gabriel Jesus. Now, I'm just going to pop this open so we can actually have a look. So Isaac is here, number top. Now, the reason why he looks so good, 35% ownership now. He's now owned by more people than Erling Haaland in the forward line. That is just insane. Who would have thought that at the start of the season? But the last 4 weeks, he's gone ham. 11, 8, 11, 17. He's milked those easy fixtures like you've not believed. Obviously, it does get a little bit harder this week with Aston Villa up next at home, Man United away, Spurs away, Wolves at home, Bournemouth at home, Southampton away, Fulham at home. That run of fixtures probably should have a lot more than just 2 greens on it. Like Man United aren't defending well, Spurs don't defend well, Aston Villa don't defend well. There is definitely goals to be had there. Isaac will most likely be 9 million by the time the deadline rolls around or very soon after it. Like, he's a great option. Now, Gabriel Jesus is someone I am looking to bring into my team, and we'll get into my transfer thoughts in a little bit in terms of the other plan I want to do. But the data is just not there. Like, you look at it, he has started twice in the last 6 weeks. It's just not. It'd be hard to see him getting dropped after he scored 5 goals in the last week against Crystal Palace. And the Ipswich up next fixture makes you sit there and go, oh, well, Ipswich conceded 4 to Newcastle. Like, they could concede quite a few goals here. Then if Gabriel Jesus is in the mood, maybe he is worth a punt. And maybe he is. I'm not sure. But look, Brentford away, Brighton away, I'm not too concerned by them. Spurs at home, not concerned by that. Aston Villa at home, not concerned by that. Wolves away. But the main problem is that how many minutes is he actually going to play? Because if he plays a lot of minutes and he starts the games, I think he's a good option. But if he's starting on the bench, he's not a good option. And like, there are still so many other alternatives. So Kai Havertz, I still think I'd prefer Kai Havertz over Gabriel Jesus. I'm surprised that Jesus is being brought in by as many people as possible. Now, Rodgers was transferred out for a lot of teams last week. Then he gets 14 points and he starts getting transferred back in. He's fine. His underlying data for the season is absolutely fine. It's a good, definite buy. I definitely like him as an option. Newcastle away is fine. They don't have the best defensive data in the league. Brighton at home, Leicester at home, Everton away. They're all pretty decent run of fixtures as well. Arsenal away, that's a tougher one. And then 23 to 25 looks amazing as well. So like, Rodgers, I don't mind. 20% ownership almost again. So he's a pretty decent buy. Luis Diaz, I don't think he's a buy. Now, I think people sitting there go, oh, he scored twice against Tottenham. Here we go. But all you have to do is look at the bench, start, bench, start, bench, start, bench, start, start. He's due a benching. Like, that's the honest truth. He's due a benching. Jota, they need to start getting him some extra minutes. He's likely to start one of these next 2 games. And if he starts on the bench, I just don't really like it. I think he could be like one of them ones. He'll 100% come on if he starts on the bench. And then you're hoping that he scores in the 20 minutes or the 15 minutes that he's on the field. And I think for me, I looked at bringing in a Diaz, a Jota, and I've even looked at Gapco up front. It's just, I'm too concerned with how many minutes they're playing, and I'll just get frustrated over the Christmas fixtures if they're not starting. Now, Aina, he's also been brought in by a lot of people this week. Nottingham Forest have just been really good defensively. Obviously, the Brentford game was a bit, I didn't personally think they'd sit there. Now, I don't believe that they're likely to keep a clean sheet against Spurs at home. I'd be struggling to see that. So from bringing him in for this particular game week, I don't think it's a move. I wouldn't be going there yet. The next 2 weeks after that, though, I could definitely see Nottingham Forest keeping 2 clean sheets. So he's definitely an option moving forward. I'm just not sure 100% how many goals they are not going to concede. That's probably where I'm going with that. And his underlying data in terms of attacking numbers, across the season, 0.02, 0.07, there are better defenders from an attacking perspective than Aina in the game. I know he scored the most points in the game. I just think that that's based mainly off the defensive data, not his attacking data. And I think that the next few weeks still don't look that good from perspective. Lots of people still bringing in Salah. Makes sense. The dude is unstoppable. Maddison's an interesting one. Now, I did consider Maddison, and his underlying data is really good. And look, it is worth a punt. Like Tottenham's next 10 fixtures are pretty good. Nottingham Forest, Wolves, Newcastle, Arsenal, Everton, Leicester, Brentford, Man United, Ipswich, down to even Man City, Bournemouth, Fulham, all look pretty good down to about game week. Like they're not bad. The problem is that Spurs are so unpredictable, and James Maddison's minutes are also a little bit unpredictable. So 57, 76, 11, 79, 84, 88. Like he has started well, but I think that's mainly been down to the fact that the Spurs have had some injuries. And I think if they didn't have the injuries and Bentancur was fit, then Maddison probably isn't starting these games. And that's my concern there. But when he has been starting, look, his numbers don't lie. 0.36, 0.36 expected goals, expected assists. He's a great option. I'm just concerned about his minutes. Now, Duran, this is a weird one. So he's obviously started the last 3 games, 57, 73, 79. He's scored 3 goals in the last 3 games as well. He does seem to score when he does play. As a João Pedro replacement, you could go there. But like Ollie Watkins surely doesn't keep starting on the bench. I just can't see that happening. So unless that's the way Emery's going to be moving forward from now, I just think that he's too much of a minutes risk, which is why he's only owned by 4.2%. So for me, I wouldn't be going there. Ahmad, yes, he was unfortunate on the weekend. My God, 0.94 expected of goal involvement. He does have the Wolves fixture up next, and Wolves do concede goals. So I'm expecting the Man United assets to look good from an attacking perspective this week. I just won't be backing them in defensively. So again, he's someone you could definitely go to. Gabriel Jesus, the other Gabriel. Again, he's got up to 6.3 now. The Ipswich fixture is beautiful, but then from Brentford away, Brighton away, Spurs at home, Aston Villa at home, I don't know if I like the Arsenal defence in terms of keeping a clean sheet. So for me, I'd rather just have the cheaper one, which is why I've got Timber in my team instead of Gabriel. Palmer, again, lots of people still bringing him in, using the money there. Nicholas Jackson still got by, even though he's still got 2 more games to get through that yellow card. Alexander-Arnold, yes, I get why people want to bring him in for the next 2 weeks, Leicester and West Ham, but then I just can't see Liverpool keeping clean sheets the 3 weeks after that. I feel like they'll concede at least 1 goal in each of those games. And Trent's numbers, yes, he looked good on the weekend, 0.57 expected assists, but across the season, in fairness, he's got 0.32 expected assists across the season. That's pretty damn good. I think that's probably the best of a defender in the league. But at 7 million's a lot of money. He's up to 7.1 now. I don't know why it's not showing 7.1. He's definitely up to 7.1. So look, that's annoying. Cunha, lots of people still bringing him in based on the fact that he hasn't been banned yet. I still think he's likely to get a ban, and I think it could be quite a hefty ban. So for me, it's definitely not somewhere you want to go. And Mbeumo, people could be bringing him back in. The thing about Mbeumo, he does play 90 minutes every week. So the fixtures aren't the most amazing over the next 7, prior to game week 25, but he does play 90 minutes every week. He's got Southampton in 3 weeks' time. He's got Brighton this week, which shouldn't be too much of a concern. The only concern he's got Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Palace and Spurs in that run of fixtures, and that kind of leans me to go not probably the best option. Chris Wood, I've actually looked at Chris Woody Woodpecker this week as well in terms of getting rid of João Pedro. I don't mind the run from here on in. I think he could potentially score against Spurs. He could even score a couple against Spurs, really. His next, down to probably game week 27 when they play Arsenal. Don't mind the Newcastle away game either, by the way. Down to there, I think his run of fixtures looks really good. I'm just concerned that maybe he might get a benching because obviously there's a lot of games and he isn't the youngest bloke in the world. Jacob Murphy, I love as a differential. His underlying data, again, is really good, but his minutes are a problem. Bruno Fernandes, lots of popular people bringing him in this week. Look, he was unlucky on the weekend, 0.86. Being there at the game and watching it myself, it was just frustrating to watch. From an attacking perspective, I think they'll be fine over the next, 7 or 8 weeks, and I don't mind the fixtures. And I think that this week, potentially, for him and Ahmad, there will be returns. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for. Kulusevski and Solanke. Now, Kulusevski is less of a minute's risk than Maddison, as we can see that 90, 90, 78, 90. He obviously had that benching against Fulham, but then 90, 90, 90. He's not quite as attacking as Maddison, and he doesn't get the massive returns. But his underlying data is 0.16, 0.19. Like Maddison's is a lot better. But the run of fixtures, the next 10 is okay. And Solanke's a ditto. Like the third forward spot is just so hard to pick at the moment. So when I look back at his data, I was like, 9, 5, 6, 2. Obviously missed the game 5, 2, 16. Like across the season, he generally returns every other week. It's just not a big return. He's not getting the bonus points, which is highly annoying. But he's an option, definitely an option moving forward. Ismail Sarr looks great as well. Hall, great. Son, great. Enzo, pretty decent. Kluivert, Milinkovic, Saliba. Lots of people bringing in expensive defenders again. I just don't mind it. Robinson, he's gone up to 4.9 now. And Pickford has been probably the goalkeeper of the season for me. He's been amazing. So if we go into the transfers out for the round now and see what people are doing there. So transfers out. Saka, obviously being sold in his droves. Almost 600,000 managers have now sold him. He's down to 39.1%. He's dropped a lot. Let's just put it that way. Erling Haaland still getting sold. Almost 200,000 managers have sold him, 34.9%. I just don't know why you would sell him now ahead of the fixtures that are in front of him. So Everton at home, Leicester away, West Ham at home, Brentford away, Ipswich away. Remember against West Ham and Ipswich earlier in the season, he scored back-to-back hat tricks. So just keep that in mind. He could be worth keeping. If you've held him this long, definitely worth a look. Welbeck, yes, I understand that. Is red flag. Cunha, that ban is likely to come in. João Pedro, as I said, he is on my chopping block, and I'm not sure where I want to go. I don't know if I want to get rid of him or Verbruggen this week. It's going to be one or the other. It's either going to be Verbruggen out for Alisson, but the only reason why I don't want to do that one this week is because of the fact that I have Fabianski in my team, and he's got Southampton this week. So, maybe I don't really need to go there this week for that, and I just bench Verbruggen again like I did last week. Watkins, lots of people are selling him. If you're costing that much money and you're starting on the bench in 3 weeks in a row, you have to go. Smith Rowe, yellow flagged. Wood, I'm surprised lots of people are selling Wood. Maybe they just think that other options are better this week. Guardiola, again, I think Man City will be all right. He was unlucky not to get involved in the scoring again last week. 0.35 expected goals last week against Aston Villa. I think he's likely to score in the next 5 weeks. Let's just put it that way. I don't mind him as an asset. I think that he's probably the best defensive asset from Man City at this moment in time. Lots of people still selling Jackson. Unsure why. I wouldn't be trading him for Isaac. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. Whistler and Blerma, I think that just kind of holds. Pedro, understand. Tottenham, as I said, cannot defend. Vardy and Bruno Fernandes. I'm surprised some of these players are on this list. I sold Matoma last week. That makes sense. Brighton just haven't been a very good run of form. Johnson's been benched. Raul's been benched. They also make sense. Virgil van Dijk's also being sold. I'm assuming that's for Trent. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why people are selling him for Trent. I'd think I'd just go with Virgil if I was spending up an extra 0.5. Just didn't make much sense. So on to my team and what it looks like in my team. This is what I'm thinking of. So as you can see there, I have made one free transfer this week. I've got rid of Saka. I've got 2.5 million in the bank. I've got one free transfer left. Now, my conundrum is I don't know where I want to go. So it's either João Pedro out, and I have looked at a number of options here. As you can see there, I've looked at Solanke. So if I get rid of ideally, this is what I would do over the next few weeks. So I don't want to be wasting multiple transfers. Now, I'm aware that Phil Foden might suck, and I might have to move him out. So I've looked at Chris Wood here. So Chris Wood, obviously, as I said, his underlying data for the season has been really good. He has been disappointing the last 2 weeks, but that means he is due a goal. And I would suggest that Spurs could well be in the offing. And then he's always got Everton and Wolves following that. Chris Wood, I do not mind at all as an option. And he is definitely someone that's coming into my line of thinking. Now, if I put in Wood, that leaves me with 1.9 in the bank. I can still spend some extra money. So if we just bring in Wood here, I'll just add that. So you can see there, 1.5 in the bank. So I can then get one of these defenders up to, I could, in theory, get up Robinson to Gabriel or Timber to Gabriel. So I could then get, over the next few weeks, if I really wanted, I could then get rid of Timber and I could bring in Gabriel. It's not going to show that because I'm looking at the forwards, isn't it? Let's go all players, Gabriel. So I could bring in Gabriel there. That leaves you with 0.8. Again, it's slightly less money, and I really want to bring in Alisson here for Verbruggen, which is annoying. So that's why it's so hard for me to work out what I want to do. I'm like a 0.1 off most of these players to make this all happen. But I could be helped by the fact that Timber could potentially go up in value eventually. or one of these other players that would then facilitate the move that I want to do. The other option is, as I said, the next move would be then to bring in Allison, and this would be for next game week. So bring in a Becker, and then I'd have 0.6 left in the bank just to roll around with or whatever. Now, Wood could potentially go to Gabriel Jesus. Now, this is another option I'm looking at this week. And I don't mind this one either as a short-term play. Now, I've bought in Foden based on a gut feeling more than any defensive data or attacking data. Just to run a fixtures makes me think that, this could be the differential that boosts me inside the top 10K, or it's going to be the differential that probably sends me outside the top 100,000. That's essentially how well or how bad this move could go. Now, Gabriel Jesus, I don't mind. The only problem with this move is that it gives me a real benching headache this week, because who do I bench from that forward 8? Like, realistically, who do I bench from that forward 8? Because I feel like that Wolves Man United game could be an absolute goal fest, like both ways. So I wouldn't be comfortable benching Ahmad. And then it's like, I feel like potentially it could be Nicholas Jackson that gets benched against Fulham. But again, that's also a risk in and of itself. So like, this is why my line of thinking is like, do I just roll the damn transfer this week and then just leave João Pedro on the bench and then just get another week's worth of data, try and figure out what the hell I want to do? Because I'm not sure. Like, I'm slightly off being able to get Solanke in this mode. And I feel like Solanke is definitely worth a look. Hold on, let's get rid of that. So get rid of João Pedro again, bring in the Solanke. So like, that leaves you 0.3 short. And I'm like, well, where do I find this extra 0.3? So like, I'm a little unsure, and that would then require more transfers. Obviously, yeah, that would cost me 4 points to make those 2 moves this week, which is why I'm not going to do that. So it's like either Solanke in against Nottingham Forest away, and I just don't have Becker, and I've still got Verbruggen, and leave that there. Oh, and then I could get in Dean Henderson next week instead, which would then leave me 0.7 in the bank. Again, I'm not sure where the hell I would put that. Maybe then that's when Timber becomes Gabriel, provided he doesn't rise to 6.4. Like, that is potentially an option. I don't mind that. But again, realistically, I want 3 Liverpool players in my team for game week 24-25. And that requires me to do a lot more transfers if I don't start getting them in now. And I feel like Becker's definitely the one I want, because then I'm covering the Liverpool defense. And realistically, you do it from this week, but I don't want to do it. I just don't know if I need to do it this week. So like, I'm very torn. At the moment, I'm not sure. You'll just have to find out tomorrow what I'm thinking in my team selection video. But that has been my transfer tips for game week 18. That's my thought process going around it. Hopefully, you've got a bit more clarity of what you want to do. I am taking a risk on the Phil Foden, and then it's just a matter of whether I go a more expensive forward for João Pedro, or I make that defensive goalkeeper switch this week and back in Allison over Fabianski. I just think that Fabianski this week might be a better pick against Southampton away. But yeah, let me know in the comments. Good luck. Make sure you have a nice Christmas. I will see you on Christmas Day tomorrow, when everyone's hopefully eating some nice turkey or ham, whatever it is that you have, or maybe it's just some nice stuffing. Make sure you have a good Christmas, and I will see you tomorrow for my team selection video. Thanks for watching. That's been the D Unit.